BBA to share his wisdom. Please welcome our keynote speaker, David Sengeh.
Thank you. Thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction. And thank you very much to the senior class for the surprise gift. I was not aware this was happening. That was very nice of you. Mr. Tajian, staff, parents, community members, and most importantly, graduating seniors, good evening. You see, I confess I was as surprised as you all must have been when you heard that a recent college graduate is going to be talking to you on your very special day. If you thought the administration was joking and they actually have a surprise speaker for you, I'm sorry. I apologize, but I'll make this very quick and painless. It will be short. In all sincerity, though, I'm very honored to be talking to you all here today. You know, since our generation is so advanced, I'm sure there are going to be a couple of you who are going to be on your Blackberries, BBMing your friends. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be tweeting this speech live as it comes out of my mouth. So, either way, the message is going to be the same. You either listen to it here or you follow it on Twitter. It's all fine.
It's clever.
Our generation is very special. In addition to the 5,000 friends we all have on Facebook, we're equipped with a world full of resources and opportunities to impact other people's lives more than ever before. Everywhere we go, this message gets nailed in our heads. I'm sure your teachers constantly remind you about the BBA's mission, which is to educate its students intellectually and morally for a life of responsibility, integrity, and service. Well, I have more news for you. I'm here to tell you something which your family and staff may not always tell you. One, it is necessary and worthwhile to take risks in following something you're passionate about. And when you're trying to help make the world a little bit better, even when others underestimate your decision-making capabilities and call you silly. And two, you will experience failure at some point in your life, and you should be excited about it. Our mentors and parents love us dearly. They love us so much that it's hard to imagine that it will allow us to possibly do something which could leave us with even a little scratch. But sometimes we do have to take that risk and respectfully say, no, Mom, I'm sorry, I would rather travel to a place where I'll get bitten by mosquitoes and spiders and possibly die of malaria. In college, I traveled to Sierra Leone, my home country, as you learned, every summer. And in 2009, I was able to convince my Canadian roommate, Justin, to come along to distribute insecticide-treated nets to a population that is burdened by malaria. His mom was terrified at the possibility of him contracting malaria. I'm sure when she did a Google search and found out that Sierra Leone was called the white man's grave in the 1800s, she was not very pleased. How could she allow her young child to take such a risk? My friend decided to go to Sierra Leone anyway. And during those few weeks there, we distributed about 4,000 nets. We walked about 120 miles and visited over 30 villages. In addition to learning about a completely new culture, he was invaluable to our team. He luckily did not end up in a grave during that trip. Instead, he helped protect about 10,000 people from possibly getting malaria. That same summer, my father asked me to stay in the United States and do research instead of traveling to Sierra Leone because he thought this would be good for my postgraduate future. However, I thought I would be of better service if I went home. There are children dying of malaria every day, and I knew that I could make a small contribution towards solving this problem. So I respectfully told my dad that I would rather travel to Sierra Leone than carry out the project. He sent me a really long email telling me how silly my decision was. After we distributed the nets that summer and I was giving a speech to the National Task Force for Malaria Control, in the audience I could see the pride on my dad's face. His expression saying, "That's my son. I encouraged him to do this project here this summer. Your classmate Luke Draven came with me on my trip to Sierra Leone, as you know, during the summer of 2010. One of my fondest memories of Luke was during one of our most tiring days. We had just walked about 5 miles to one village, and there was another small village about 2 to 3 miles away that needed nets. And I asked for a volunteer to carry out the nets on their backs and heads to this village. You see, we could have just sent the net to the local and left it at that. However, Luke volunteered his team to walk those extra miles when many other teams were turning away. I hesitated a bit. He was the youngest member of our team, and his father had called me personally to ask me to take care of Luke and to make sure he's never out of my sight. After a couple of minutes of delaying this decision, I was silly enough to say, "Sure, Luke, please go ahead. Just don't tell your dad." Luke demonstrated courage and responsibility that was humbling to me. I'm sure the people who got those nets will be forever grateful. And I guess Luke's dad can be proud. Sorry, I'm not sorry, Dr. Draven. Certainly, Luke, Justin, and I all respect our parents. In fact, there are many times when we do exactly as they require us to do. But sometimes it is very important to take that leave from home to engage in a service project that will benefit other people, even when others think it is silly of you. If you're doing the best you can to improve others' lives, your parents will probably come around and proudly say, "That is my son or daughter. I helped him or her make that decision." They always like to take the praise. My point is this: we might look silly as we go out into the world to try to make a change, and many people will think we're stupid. That being said, there's an important point we must remember when we try to help others. As we design and come up with solutions for people, I kindly ask that we respect the people who will use those solutions by understanding that they know their own problems better than we might think they do. No one can describe a feeling of pain better than the person who's experiencing it. We must respect those who we are trying to help by implementing the solution side by side with them. And finally, we must respect others by evaluating that experience so that we do not have to repeat the same mistakes. In other words, if we do not get off our high horses to speak to the little children in the community, and if we take ourselves too seriously, our efforts are bound to have less than effective consequences. Being proud never pays. You have to be ready to put your wealth, your Kindles, and iPhones to the side, and never forget your ideals and your ideas. Share them and you will more likely add positive value to the lives of others. Today, years after our mosquito net distribution in Sierra Leone, our project is relatively still successful. About 90% of people still use the nets because we collaborated with locals who led the campaign on the ground. Now for my second point. However hard we try, sometimes we still fail. Failing is part of the process of development. In my present life at MIT, I designed prosthetic devices for amputees. As some of you may recall, Sierra Leone had an 11-year rebel war during which rebels used amputation as a strategy of terror and left thousands of people without limbs. Today, I tried to develop a prosthetic socket, which is the part that connects the human limb to the prosthetic device, in a way that is more comfortable and most cost-effective than present systems. When I go to the lab, I sit in front of the computer and I design. I keep developing the design, and then I make a prototype and then test the prototype. Almost all of them fail. If they didn't, I'll have completed my PhD on the second day of work. But to me, they are not failures. They are only opportunities to do better and come up with smarter solutions. You see, these prototypes are iterations of the real and final product. Failure is a process. So too is success. They go side by side, And when you leave BBA and your parents for college to start up businesses, to learn different trades and travel around the world, you will be faced with challenges. We as a generation and at this age are blessed to have the freedom to fail. The worst mistake will be to not try something because you're afraid. When Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, he tried over 2,000 experiments before he got it to work, and a young reporter was asking him how it felt to have failed so many times. He said, "I never failed once. I invented the light bulb. It just happened to be a 2,000-step process." In case you're worried about leaving this safe, beautiful haven to go into a world where people will call you silly and you're bound to fail at some point, please don't be. Something that is common among the people who do amazing things is their infectious passion for whatever they are pursuing. What is most important as we go out into the world is our passion to learn from others. Be humble enough to accept our mistakes and try to not repeat those same mistakes. With passion, people can often do the impossible. Don't tell MIT, by the way, but there were a bunch of non-A's on my Harvard transcript. But I mean, I was not that dumb. I did get an A in the Japanese history of Lady Samurai, after all. More important for me, though, was finding the time to start an energy company, which we work with in Namibia, run an international NGO, which many of you guys help us with, and pursue other projects because I was passionate about those things, which I guess MIT thought was cool enough to allow me to get a place there. I also collaborated with many people and sought out help when I wasn't sure what the next step was, even in this speech. I shared these ideas with friends who were willing to help, and sometimes even those who were not willing to help at first ended up helping because my passion was infectious. I would like to end by saying that as a generation, we must take responsibility in helping those who do not have access to the same resources available to us. Whether we're in an Ivy League institution, a community college, an artist studio, a mechanic shop or art school, or serving in the army, we each have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to ourselves to be engaged in something fulfilling, a responsibility to others to ensure that however we interact with them, we are respectful enough to listen and learn from them, curious enough to take risks, and sometimes be a little disobedient. And most importantly, having a passion with which we implement whatever we are pursuing. We are young and strong, and we have the time. And my sense is that most of us do not have wives or husbands or kids just yet. So we can explore the world actively. For the parents, staff, and community, we expect and appreciate the guidance and nourishment you've always given and continue to give us. Clearly, this community has shown its support to student initiatives, as you can see by the amount of fundraising that the kids at BBA have spearheaded to help others far and wide. What was made clear to me last year when I visited Manchester Elementary was how there is no such thing as being too young or doing something too small to make the world a better place. There I met 7-year-olds who were jump roped and others who washed cars or baked cookies, and in so doing earned money for nets that saved several lives. So graduates, when you leave here today and move into the next phase of your lives, remember that whatever you attempt and whenever you attempt to do something bold, people might call you silly and you may fail. But be excited about that failure. Embrace it. Learn from it and be passionate about whatever you're engaged in. As long as we're doing our best to help others with humility, our family and friends will always be proud of us in the end. But much more important and challenging is making sure we're proud of ourselves. Thank you, BBA class of 2011. Go show them and yourself what you got.